Doodly doo doo doo. Meow. Hello everybody, welcome to Xucaboa 100% Vanilla Baby, episode number 19. As always, I'd like to say thank you, gracias, obrigado to new Xucaboa citizens. This episode we have Peerlin Wang, Patakone, SLT93 Gaming, Carlos Garcia, Terrell Rogers, Miguel Ortega Soto, Jorge Esteban Rico Arcibar, Kyle and Michelle Mattox, Shan, and Irvin, aka Cybervin Lewis. Here is a picture of Xuca's butt with glasses on it. I thought she looked kind of like an elephant right there. So we'll take a quick look at what we did last episode, which was laying out the beginnings of this waterfront by the bay. I'm still calling it a bay. I got some feedback saying that perhaps it's an inlet. I might go with that. Now you see on this side we've developed kind of this beachfront area. Could be a bit touristy. We have the lot of different elevation changes, and we've worked the terrain in around there. But there was something I was thinking after looking at it again, and that is that if you get off the bridge, you have to go all the way around the island to get back to that beach. So I'm just going to create another off-ramp here that goes down to the beach, so someone could choose to drive just straight down instead of going all the way around the island in this big kind of highway, roundabout, ring road, whatever you want to call it. And so just putting this in real quick, real simple work with the slope terrain tool. If you're not sure how to use that, if you're not comfortable using it, it's a very, very powerful part of the landscaping suite of tools. And I use it all the time. On PC, you just right-click the spot you want the terrain to slope to, and then you drag with the left click to that exact spot. Very easy to use, makes a lot of smooth roads possible. I've turned off the tram station, the Strycrafter tram station, and I'm just redoing the tram connection a little bit right underneath, because I think it could be better this way. Gave it a little bit of a triangle about there. Now I'm going to start connecting roads, adding a few more things, having a road follow this elevated portion of the bridge all the way out to where it reaches the ground. And then I'm just going to use the curve road tool on those corners to make everything look like a nice smooth curve. And there we go. I've got a bit of a steep hill right there, and I want that. That's a deliberate choice. And we'll see why later. For those who are new to the channel, I just want you to know that this is a 100% vanilla city. Alright, I don't have any mods enabled, but I'm trying to do things as if I did have mods, because I'm used to playing with mods. That's kind of the way I prefer to play. So this is sort of a personal challenge for myself, but also I think the game on its own stands up well. So I'm going to show you something here that I've kind of taught myself how to do. I've never seen anyone else do this. Most things I do, I've seen someone else do. I'm not haven't discovered anything, but this is a technique I discovered trying to make vanilla piers that are not specifically assets. To do that, I'm making this ring around a section of the water where I want the pier to be. I'm using just a flattened terrain tool, and then I'm digging a deep hole underneath, kind of flattening out that whole area, making a big bathtub, right? And then what I'm going to do is add some water connections. I have to unpause quickly to let the water sort itself out before it will let me place a water pumping station. I'll put one on each of these bathtubs here. These will be our dewatering pumps. And what they're going to do is they're going to suck up all the water from inside of those tubs I just made. Okay, so I'm just doing a little bit of extra terrain work here to make sure that we don't have new water coming in. You definitely don't want to do this kind of work when you have residential neighborhoods or highly developed neighborhoods in place, because of the massive amount of flooding that's absolutely going to happen. There's no way around that, no matter what. But here, the stuff we have in place isn't too bad, except for these poor boats that are running aground. That's very woof. That's not a position I ever want to find myself in. And you look at the fishing boats, they're just going one at a time to run right up on the beach there. So anyway, what I'm doing, we're going to dewater this this area using these water pumping stations as kind of sump pumps, bilge pumps, whatever you want to call them, whatever context you're doing. And what I'm doing now is I just have it elevated one small notch above the ground, and I'm trying, there was a little bit of trial and error with this. It's going to be a little bit different every time you do it. But if you just have it like one step above the ground, then you can draw a bridge out into the water. And that's kind of all I'm doing, really, to make these piers. Okay, there are no just finger pier assets that are like this in the vanilla game. There are some new piers that came with the Bridges and Piers Content Creator Pack, but they're very, very, very skinny. All right, you have the, what is it, the Rhine River one is what I'm thinking is the closest thing you have to a straight finger pier. Then you have the, from the parks section, you have the fishing pier, and you have some other piers, but they do something, all of those piers do something that drives me nuts. And that is that they kind of stick up above the quay, like on the block that where their steps are. And you'll see what I mean when I put them in. I tried so hard to figure out a way to make that not happen, and I just could not do it. So it's going to be something we just live with. If you're playing with mods and you have Move It, it's very easy. You just select the item and you press page down, until it's level with the pier in the way, with the key in the way that you want it to. Here I'm just putting in a cemetery in this. I guess it'll be an extension of Farmington when it's done, but we need it. We definitely need a cemetery. Our cemeteries are filling up pretty quickly as we're playing this. This first pier that I made, I'm going to call the Peerlin Pier. I think that sounds pretty good. It's got some alliteration, which I am a fan of. And here we'll do another alliteration. We'll do Patakone Pier. So we have the two piers, the Peerlin Pier and the Patakone Pier. Now I'm going to extend just the agricultural industrial zoning area paintbrush around the fertile land areas. That's more just for me to keep track. It's not going to have too much of a purpose at this point. But I think we will put in maybe one agricultural asset this game. But in this episode, my plan is to develop that waterfront right by where we put those piers. I'm going to work my way down to it by playing the game. This is sped up very quickly. This takes a long time, and it's all random. You just have to get lucky. But you wait until the buildings you want spawn. So I wanted those 5 residential units, those high-density residential units. I wanted those there. I think they look good. I'm going to play that game over here, too, close to the Vanilla Education District. The Vanilla Education Center is what I believe the district is called. It just seemed weird to me, the small houses going right up to the education center. I wanted just some mid-rises, and that one on the left is the style I'm looking for. I just want 3 of those in a row. I think they're spaced out enough that it still gives the feeling that you're not in a very, very dense spot, but they're a bit developed. So there's these big gaps in between those 3 buildings, those 4x4s, and they're nice. They're not too high. They're kind of colorful. They have different colors, so I think that looks a little bit better. That's the plan. That's really the only thing I'm going to do over in that part of the city for right now. Maybe, I don't think we'll do it this episode, but soon I'm going to have to add a few things to level up the zoo, which is on Compass Hill. It's still a zoo park. But right now I'm going to put in some of the pier assets. And you see what I mean? You see that block that it's attached to? That sticks on the land side? It's always raised up, which is... It drives me nuts. I just want it to touch the pier, the key level. I want it to make sense, and it doesn't. So we're just going to live with it. Here I put in a fishing tour. I think that's appropriate because we're right by the fishing stuff. And we'll call this Terrell's Fishing Tours. All right. I love these assets. I really do. But in vanilla, I can't figure out a way to make them connect correctly, that they're not on this like block. Unless the key is very, very high, sometimes I get lucky. But then the pier is too high anyway, and I don't want that. I want the pier low to the water so that it's realistic. Here we're putting in a restaurant pier, and this one I'm going to name for the winner of the hashtag XBFreshAir screenshot challenge, I'm going to call this the Cyber Vin Lewis Restaurant Pier. I wrote Cyber Irv because it's Irvin. That was a typo. I fixed that at the end of the episode. Sorry about that. But that's, it looked like there was an Italian flag flying on that, so that'll be an Italian restaurant right on the water. Giving me some serious Brooklyn, New York vibes, having a nice Italian restaurant down at the working waterfront. I'm all about that. That New York that I know from my childhood and my parents' childhoods, I guess. I wasn't there, kids, but that's the New York I'm imagining. Not so much the gentrified high-rise on the waterfront period. More right before that, when the commercial and industrial aspects of the waterfront were kind of diminishing, but were still present. All right, before everything got bought up and turned into high-rise. So what we're going to do, we're going to put in the bakery here, which is a great industrial-looking asset. We'll call this the SLT93 bakery. SLT is for Simon Thomas. He's got a YouTube channel that he's just started. He's still pretty new. He's in the City Skylines Vanilla Facebook group with the rest of us. He's turning out to be a great member of the community, so I'm happy to share his channel here in the description and in the link card here. Also, in case you didn't realize, I mentioned it in a previous episode, but for those who are new, every member of this city, of this channel, I guess, every subscriber, every citizen of Xucaboa that has a YouTube channel is in the featured channels section of my YouTube page. So if you want to see some other creators, other cities, you just go click there. Anyone that's part of this city, I will host their channel free of charge with pleasure so that everybody can experience it. I don't know if it's a service or a perk or whatever you want to call it. I just really like that people are here checking my stuff out. I want to support them and have people check out their stuff as well. So while I was saying that, I zoned this little section as a district, and I made it so that it's European style buildings, and you saw that one industrial building right next to the bakery, and I put in the music club, which is from the Concerts DLC. That looks great. Now I want to put in a metro, and these stations from the new Content Creator Pack are awesome, but they have no place, I think, at this part of town. So I'm going to go with the classic metro station. I'm going to go with the elevated. Just flatten out a small section right here and place it in. So this will be a terminal stop. I think it'll be the end of the line. And this will bring people from this part of Xuquinha or Xucaboa or Fish Market or whatever we want to call this neighborhood into the bigger city, which is going to be on the other side of the bridge to the north. All right, and this metro station, we will, going with some alliteration again, we'll call this the Miguel OS Metro, Miguel Metro. So we'll turn it off for right now because obviously we're not using it. We don't want to spend the money on the upkeep. But yeah, you can see how with those three buildings, the bakery, the club, and that factory, I'm getting a very brick style thing going on. With this fire department here, one of my favorite assets, this European fire department. We'll call this the Jedi Master Fire House. And this Jedi Master, also a YouTuber, you will find their channel in the description and in the future channel section. So check them out. Check out their City Skylines stuff. But really, I'm going to start time-lapsing a bit faster now because the whole thing I have to do to make this have the look I want is to grow and wait till I get the assets that I want in place. And that can take time. It's all random number generator stuff going on inside of the machine. There's no way to predict what building will spawn, so I have to wait until the one I want pops up. Oh, Xuca just popped up. Here's our random photo of Xuca. Random and without warning, spontaneous. So yeah, that's really just what a lot of the rest of this episode is going to be. Not all of it, but a lot of it. It's going to be growing very specific buildings. But here we'll put in a childhood center because we're going to have a lot of people coming in, and we'll call this the JNF Child Healthcare Center. We'll have that right in that kind of triangle there, and we'll see what we want to put. If we want to put residential or somewhere commercial or maybe a park. to fill in the irregular shape. Here I'm just going to connect some paths. Got to remember to keep walkability in place, especially in dead ends. You always want to have your dead ends connected, at least by walking path somewhere. Taking a quick look at the city stats, just to make sure that there's nothing that we need as we're growing. You know, we haven't really had a growth spurt in the city in quite some time. So this is important. You know, we want to keep tabs on what's going on for services, for pollution, for anything like that. We'll take a look at our city policies. I think we could probably add a few more. We'll turn on recycling so we get a little bit less garbage developing. We'll turn on recreational use, which is good. We'll put on preferred ferries because we have ferries in place right now. And we'll put on the tourist travel card to have, that incentivizes tourists to come into the city. In the city planning tab, I think we will just for now put on sustainable fishing and dolphin safe fishing, because even though this is an older waterfront, we still have a very modern concept of what responsible fisheries management is about. So we don't want to have unsustainable fishing practices going on. Now I'm going to clean up this little remaining section of Vanilla Jungle and get ready to place a unique building. I think this is from Green Cities DLC. This is the Bird and Bee Haven, and I will call this Michelle's Birds and Bees. And I don't know if that translates into Spanish or Portuguese the way it does in English, but Birds and the Bees is a thing. So we'll call that Michelle's Birds and Bees. Michelle is a new subscriber, and so is her husband, Kyle. I found out that I have a married couple that are following the channel now from the City Skylines Facebook group. So we'll call that Kyle's Birds and Bees B&B. That's a hunting lodge from the Nature Reserve park assets. And I think it looks good. It's got the palm trees right next to it. And it's kind of cute. You know, you go see the birds and the bees, and then you go do stuff about the birds and the bees at the B&B. So, I mean, what's not to like about it? I was trying to come up with a really clever way to have a married couple naming scheme going on there, and that's what I came up with. So I hope you guys don't think that's too ridiculous or anything. I'm trying to be creative here, not just in my city build, but in my naming scheme. So back to the zoning and stuff. I don't really want to have everything back to back. A lot of these old industrial areas have like spots where there used to be buildings that are now vacant lots, or turned into, you see that container yard right there, I think kind of fits in. That probably was a building once and then it got knocked down, now there's containers. So there will be a couple of empty spaces in there. But I do want to have a lot of buildings there. They don't have to be red brick, but I want them all to look good when they're next to each other, if that makes sense. And I also want some industrial things, like that nice warehouse thing going on there. See, here I try to put in some high density commercial, and I forgot it's European. And even though those can look good, I don't want them here. We already have our European district. I don't want to overdo that. This is a tropical city. It is not a European city. So I'm doing a lot of mixed zoning here to get just buildings that I like. I'm doing office spaces. I'm doing high density commercial. I'm trying to keep the residential right out of that one spot, but just over to the left. You see over there I got the residential, and then I'm starting to mix up industrial, office, and commercial over there. Back to the farm area, I'm going to put a big greenhouse. I'm going to call this the Shan greenhouse. I think it's a nice big asset that kind of starts to transition from the farm area where you have these big fields, low density stuff, into a more industrial vibe that you get down on this waterfront. It has to kind of blend together, and that's really all I'm doing. Remember, this entire city, this entire map, this entire game is really scaled down from reality in a lot of ways, unless you're playing with all tiles with, you know, mods or things like that that allow you to unlock everything and have all these different assets. It's really a scaled down version of things. One YouTube creator, very famous one, who has tens and tens of thousands of subscribers, $2.20. He's working on a new map, and I remember in the beginning when he started doing it, he was saying that it's going to kind of be like Grand Theft Auto, in that you have these areas that you're in, but they're scaled down in a certain way, if that makes sense. You know, like when you're playing a game like that, you go from one region of the map to another region of the map, and it kind of changes the vibe. So we're doing that here in vanilla just with 9 tiles. You can already see our different neighborhoods have some of them have extremely different vibes from the ones next to them. So the trick here that we're trying to do is just to make sure that they all kind of blend in together from one to the other, that it never seems too abrupt of a change. Going back here, just adding some vegetation and trees. I haven't done that in a single episode, so I was getting a little crazy, just dreaming of when I could plant 100 million more trees. I don't even know if I'm playing a city building simulator anymore, or if I'm just doing a tree planting simulator. But we're just filling in this area of the bay, because I don't want to forget this is a tropical map, and tropical areas are almost always, maybe there are exceptions, but when I think of tropical, I think of very lush, overgrown, green areas, lots and lots of vegetation, lots of trees. So, you know, having that fill in, going over here and then kind of tapering off by the waterfront, I think is a cool look. And it's all on a hill too, so it makes sense. The waterfront makes sense to me because it's in this inlet or in this bay, and that's a protected waterway. I can't, in vanilla, I cannot put a harbor, a cargo harbor inside this bay because the ship connection can't connect, and that drives me nuts. Here we put in a basketball court. We'll call this here I'm naming it Jorge Esteban's b-ball court, but then I remembered I think he prefers to go by Esteban Rico, so I will call it Esteban Rico's b-ball court. We'll rename some things at the end that I made mistakes. This is an episode full of naming, just like the last one, and it's I'm so happy that there are so many people subscribing, but it also makes it challenging sometimes for me now that you know, the price of success when I have more people watching the channel is that I have more things to name, and I'm very bad at my own lists. So thank you for your patience with all that. I really do want to get everybody in that is new to the channel and gets something named in their honor. It's very important to me to do that. But what I was saying about the waterfront, it makes sense to me that this is where the old waterfront would be. It's a protected area. If I were on a ship, I would much rather be inside than outside of the bay here. So I think, you know, if we were looking at this as a historic city build, this would be the old commercial historic center that developed, and then, you know, into the 1800s and 1900s, it's kind of got that red brick style going on. Then later with the what do we call it? The invention of containers. You know, just like New York City, this happened in New York City when the container ship was invented, when containerization was standardized. All of a sudden, you needed gigantic sections of land and the ability to accommodate huge container ships, which most of the cities, New York included, did not really have. So that's why you usually see those areas outside of the old city, in an area where they have just huge sections of open land. In New York's case, it's in New Jersey for the most part. There's a little bit going on in Brooklyn. There's no more going on in Manhattan, really. So Manhattan used to have, you know, industrial piers every 3 feet. The place was full of ships. You couldn't get rid of ships. Now you never see any ships coming into Manhattan unless it's a special occasion or something. So we're just, yeah, this is the game I'm playing, where I just wait and see if the right type of prop or asset grows. And then sometimes I know that there is one that is, I don't know, that's gonna level up everything, that's what we'll do. Here, I forgot to name the club, so I'm going to name that for Carlos, Club Carlos, because on the front you see it's got that panel that says Club C. So here I'm correcting my spelling mistakes from last episode. Here I'm renaming the Bastion S Fire Department to Roslyn S Fire Department. That was a huge typo on my part. Spelled Stry Crafter correctly. Here I'm going to do the Esteban Rico. All of this, I changed it to a Cyber Vin instead of Cyber Irv Lewis on the one Pier. And that was the idea. I just want to make sure that everything is spelled correctly. And I think I got it. So this is the look. This is our new neighborhood. And me being a guy from New York, living here in Lisbon, Portugal now, but being a merchant mariner and having been to many, many ports around the world, this is giving me some very authentic vibes. It's kind of a combination of several cities. It's very small, scaled down version of them, but it's real, and I like it. So I hope you do too. You see right there how the cars are up on the block? Why does it do, oh, it drives me nuts. Why can't that just be lowered? You can't park there because it's a gigantic brick. It's just something we're gonna have to live with. Pretend that it's normal, please, because I can't make it any better than that. But yeah, here we got this big bridge, got that whole waterfront right behind it. Ooh, I'm getting good feelings about this new neighborhood. As the sun goes down and everyone starts heading over to Club Carlos, down at the old waterfront. This is the city. Now I'm going to do a quick cinematics. I actually added that renaming thing after the cinematics, so I wanted to do the cinematics at the end. They're during daytime. But yeah, this is... I haven't actually done cinematics in quite a little bit, so I'm happy to do them again. Sometimes my button doesn't work, and I don't know why. I hope everybody who's watching this is enjoying as this city grows. I have said it before, I'll say it again, Roslyn Peninsula is the best map, but also I love playing with mods. I think that this game being so moddable is one of the greatest things about it. However, I don't think that vanilla is less than mods. I think sometimes it can be even better playing just vanilla, and that is why I'm doing this here. I really want to do a vanilla game. I want to make it as lifelike as possible without any mods, without any custom assets. You know, use what the game developers have given us. I think it's very possible. And not just possible, but it's fun. So if you are on console or if you're playing on computer and you don't have access to the Steam Workshop, don't be discouraged by all those posts you see people sharing on the internet of these cities that you can't even tell if it's a real photo or if it's the game. Those are incredible. People put a lot of work into those, and if you ever get the chance to do it, I recommend it. It's a lot of fun, but you don't have to do it. Vanilla can be just as fun. Thank you very much for watching Xucaboa 100% Vanilla Baby, episode number 19, and I will see you next time.